Battle through the heavens, grand world. Chapter 154 Leaving. Don't fool me. Seeing Xiaoyan's playful smile, the woman quickly reacted. Her pretty face was cold as she said. Her long sword struggled, and the blade got closer to Xiaoyan's neck. Xiaoyan looked at the woman with a headache. He then patted the Xiaoao's big head. The Xiaoao shook its head and let out a soft whimper. It turned into a stream of light and entered Xiaoyan's body. When the woman's eyes widened in disbelief, Xiaoyan quickly extended 2 fingers and grabbed the blade of the sword. He suddenly exerted force on his arm, and before the woman could react, he had already snatched the sword from her hand. Xiaoyan took the longsword and swept his gaze across it. The longsword flashed with a crystalline light, and a faint fluorescent light slowly circulated around it. It was much better than ordinary low-grade spirit weapons. Among the spirit weapons he had seen before, only Zhou Yuan's bone sword could compare with it. "What are you doing? Give it back to me." Seeing the spirit weapon being snatched away, the woman recovered her senses and said with a pale face. Xiaoyan got up from the ground. When the woman saw this, she immediately took a few steps back in panic. Xiaoyan laughed lightly and turned his hand. The long sword instantly pointed at the woman. Seeing the frightened face of the woman, Xiaoyan immediately thought of playing with her. "Who are you? Aren't all the disciples of Purple Radiance sect training at this time? Why are you here to take a bath?" Xiaoyan's face turned gloomy as he spoke in a deep voice. The girl was startled by Xiaoyan's sudden cold and gloomy expression. She subconsciously swallowed her saliva and said with a trembling voice, "Don't do it. Otherwise, Grandpa will never forgive you." Xiaoyan laughed evilly when he heard this. He walked forward and swept his eyes across the female's body that was wrapped in a white dress. After that, he looked at her delicate and pretty face and said, "Who would know that I attacked you here and killed you?" The woman's heart sank when she heard this. Tears welled up in her eyes and her legs trembled as if they were about to collapse. Clang! The sword fell to the ground. Xiaoyan took a few steps back and smiled. "All right, I was just teasing you. Since you don't want to say it, then I won't force you." After saying that, Xiaoyan's body flashed and rushed into the distance. Looking at Xiaoyan's departing figure, the girl seemed to have lost all her strength. She was gasping for breath. When she recalled what Xiaoyan had said earlier, her beautiful eyes were filled with struggle and doubt. Could it be that this guy was really invited by the sect chief? Unable to come up with a solution, the lady picked up her long sword, tidied her clothes, and left in another direction. For the next 2 days, Xiaoyan didn't continue his cultivation. Instead, he calmed his heart and carefully felt the changes in his strength. These few days, his improvement had exceeded Xiaoyan's expectations. First, his soul strength had increased to the middle period of alien stage, and now, his strength had broken through to the 3rd monarch spirit. There was also an obvious improvement in the strengthening of his physical body. During these past few days, he had been recuperating. It was the best time to combine work and rest. The girl in the white dress who had made a mistake with Xiaoyan previously did not appear. Xiaoyan saw Xiao Yu a few times and was too embarrassed to ask. No matter how this matter was explained, in the end, it was still the man who could not be explained. In the end, he simply threw it to the back of his mind. Under this kind of idle state, 3 days quietly passed. The Taiching mansion is quite a distance away from the Spirit Heaven mansion. Originally, using the transportation array would only take a few days. Unfortunately, the battle 3 days ago had affected the transportation array. Now, it's unstable, and it might be dangerous to teleport such a long distance away. Xiao Wang led Xiaoyan to the square. He thought for a while and said, "I have already sent a message to the clan." The Great Elder and the others were very excited. Therefore, even if there are some ignorant fellows in the clan, it won't affect the overall situation. Xiaoyan didn't say anything, he just nodded his head with an indifferent expression. This time, he didn't go back to Xiao clan to acknowledge his relatives, but to understand some things. If there was anyone who didn't like him, he would just use his strength to speak. "Actually, if I bring you there, you might encounter less resistance in the clan, but I really can't leave. Therefore, I have arranged for a disciple to use a flying spirit beast to bring you to the transportation array in the next prefecture. You will be able to reach the Taiching mansion from there." After saying that, Xiao Wang handed a token to Xiaoyan and said, "This is my vice sect master's token. Take it." If anyone gets entangled with you while traveling in the family, take this out. Xiao Yan looked at the black token in Xiao Wang's hand and slowly shook his head. Senior, you must be mistaken. I'm not going to Xiao clan to beg them to accept me. I'm going to talk to the great elder of Xiao clan in the great world as the patriarch of Xiao clan in Fighting Key Continent. Xiao Wang took a deep look at Xiao Yan when he heard this. After a while, he sighed helplessly and said, I have been away from Xiao clan for a long time. Perhaps, I don't intend to go back for the rest of my life. I don't intend to interfere with your actions. Since you don't want it, I won't force you. After you arrive at Taiching Mansion, there will be ears and ears of Xiao clan everywhere. At that time, the great elder and the others will surely arrange for someone to come and pick you up. Of course, if no one comes, you can directly go to Xiao City. That is the headquarters of Xiao clan. As they spoke, the two of them had already arrived at the square. At this moment, there was already a tall and straight young man in green clothes standing on the square. The young man was clad in heroic spirit and had two straight eyebrows that shot up to the sky. He was standing beside a huge black feathered eagle. When he saw Xiao Wang coming over, he hurriedly stepped forward and respectfully said, Teacher. Xiao Wang nodded and pointed at the young man and said to Xiao Yan. He is my disciple, Lin Jian. His strength has already reached the monarch emperor. He will send you to Huayang Palace. After saying that, he introduced Xiao Yan. This is the Xiao Yan I told you about. I will have to trouble you this time. Lin Jian promised, then looked at Xiao Yan and cupped his hands. I've heard about the pill competition before this. Little brother Xiao Yan has actually won the championship. It's really admirable. Xiao Yan smiled upon hearing this. He returned the greeting and said, I was just lucky. I'll leave this trip to Huayang Prefecture to Brother Lin. Uncle Xiao, my big brother said that you want him to send the champion of this year's pill competition to Huayang Prefecture. Is that true? Right at this moment, a clear and crisp voice sounded. Xiao Yan frowned. Why did this voice sound so familiar? He couldn't help but look towards the source of the voice. Little girl, why did you come here instead of cultivating properly? Xiao Wang couldn't help but laugh when he heard this voice. He looked towards the source of the voice and saw a girl in a white dress running over happily. Where is the champion of pill competition? The woman looked at the few people on the stage. When she saw Xiaoyan's face, she couldn't help but cry out in shock. Then, she immediately stopped and said with a blushing face, why is it you again? You, this. The woman stared at Xiao Yan and spoke incoherently. She blushed and was too embarrassed to say those two words in front of Xiao Wang and Lin Jian. How do you two know each other? When Xiao Wang saw this, he couldn't help but look at Xiao Yan. The latter had a gloomy expression on his face. Why did he bump into her? This. A few days ago, when I was cultivating at the back of the mountain, I happened to bump into this young lady. Her cultivation affected her, so there was some misunderstanding. Looking at the girl who was stuttering in front of him, Xiao Yan thought for a moment and said. So Mr. Xiao knows my younger sister. What a coincidence. Lin Jian looked at the two of them in surprise and said with a smile. The woman glared at Lin Jian. Although she was so angry that her teeth itched, she didn't dare to say anything wrong. Lin Yi, your master has been in seclusion for the past few days. Your brother is going to send Xiao Yan to Huayang Prefecture. No one has been bothering you these few days. You have to cultivate well and stop causing trouble. He smiled and reminded the girl, then nodded at Lin Jian and Xiao Yan. Xiao Yan cupped his hands at Xiao Wang and said with a heavy voice, Senior, take care. After that, Lin Jian sat on the back of the black feathered eagle. Lin Jian gently patted the head of the black feathered eagle. The bird immediately let out a sharp cry towards the sky. It spread its wide wings and took off with the wind. After finding a direction in the sky, it flapped its wings and quickly flew away. He is Xiao Yan. Lin Yi looked at the disappearance of the eagle and looked at Xiao Wang in disbelief. When she saw Xiao Wang nod his head, Lin Yi could not help but purse her lips. After that, she snorted softly and muttered to herself. This kind of hooligan is actually stronger than senior brother Xiao Yu. And was almost seen by him. Xiao Wang looked at the woman and said with some amusement, You little girl, what are you mumbling about? Lin Yi was shocked. Then, she looked away and said, I didn't say anything. Xiao Wang didn't say anything. He looked in the direction where the black feathered eagle had left and sighed deeply. He didn't know what kind of relationship Xiao Yan and the Xiao clan would have in the future. Chapter end. Hi guys, please like, comment, share, and subscribe.